Hello, welcome back, episode 4. Thanks for joining. So, here's a quick recap as what we did last time. What we managed to do is, I'll try to keep this short actually. What we managed to do is add a ball respawn mechanic, not for the final game but for debug purposes. We managed to sort out the ball velocity, how we're going to calculate how fast the ball is going to travel depending on charge power and proximity bonus as well. I'll explain that later. So first we've got there you go, allow ball respawn. So now if I click Y, I'm able to respawn the ball. It just allowed me to keep testing the game without having to restart the game every single time. I could just respawn the ball. And in terms of charge, ball power, when it comes to striking, I created all these methods. Ultimately, it comes down to calc strike power. I'll quickly show what that all looks like right now. Let's put my game controller. Here's that. And then you can see if I click Y, the ball respawns. And now the game plays like this. I'm just going to quickly explain how I'm calculating everything. So we've got the base power set to, the numbers don't actually matter, to be honest. I'm going to tweak them as I go along, but let's just say base power is 800. We've got, go base power, we've got max charge, writing's awful, max charge power, let's say that's 800 as well. Let's keep things simple. And we got max prox bonus. Let's say that's 800. So the way I'm calculating it, we're always going to have the base power. We've got charge, and we've got prox. And since that's 800, that's 800. So we calculate how much of a charge has the player held down for. So let's say it's 100%. So the charge has been calculated at 100%. So we find out 100% of this value, which is obviously 800. Then for the prox, we find out how close it is to the pivot rotator in comparison to the max radius. So we find out where does it align within here. Let's say it's about here, so we calculate it's 50%. So we find out 50% of this, which is 400, and we just take the base plus these two values here. So we'll take the base plus charge, which in this example is 800, plus the prox bonus, which is 400. This is 800, and that is what, 1600, 2000. So then that's how I'm calculating the ball power every single time. So this is the code that I've got for it. I've shown you in the last episode. What I'm going to do now is, firstly, and it shouldn't take long, I'm going to clean everything up because I've got a lot of methods that are redundant and a lot of code comments. So I'm going to quickly clean everything up, make sure my code looks good, then I can speak about my plan on after that. Alright, so I've gone away and cleaned up my entire file. So what I've done is any debug, I didn't like the whole, you know, debug blah 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 blah, right? I didn't like that. Not sure, yeah. Didn't like that, so I added this neat little question mark notation and followed by debug to show when something's a debug. Got rid of some dead variables that weren't being used. Cleaned up my code comments and I made the striking more simpler. So it's pretty simple here. If try to strike the ball, right? If you try to strike the ball and it returns true, so you can do a ball strike. Calculate the ball direction, calculate the strike power, and then apply the velocity to the ball. So we calculate the ball direction through here. You already know this. Calculate the strike direction based on the strike direction blend. Then what we do is we go up, calculate strike power. This is my new strike power. It's much more simpler. We get the pivot to ball distance. Then we return the base strike force. Calculate the charge bonus, which is its own method that returns the charge bonus, and then calculate proximity bonus, which returns the proximity bonus that's going to be applied. Played around with the values, so the base strike force is 600, the max charge bonus is now 800, and the max proximity bonus is now 400. So my code is looking clean now, it's looking good. I like it, I'm happy with it. So now what we've got, this is, oh yeah, this is what I explained before. We've got my showcase my input, and then this is what the game looks like right now. So it looks good, I'm happy with it, but the point is, what's next for us? Oh my god, bad at my own game. Boom. What's next is, right now, this is just a toy. It's not really a game, it's just a toy that hits a ball and then you can strike it. So now I need to figure out the game loop. So what's the game loop gonna be? And I don't really know. Or I didn't really know. I went away, did some research, tried to do some thinking about it. How do I turn this basic mechanic into a game? There's multiple ways I could have went with. I could have decided my next step could have been add some visuals, add some VFX noise, whatever. I don't think that's the right next step. So what I'm gonna do next is, let's turn this off. Okay. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm going to define the game loop. Let's just call it GL. So the game loop's gonna be, you got 3 lives. It's terrible, 3 lives. 0 lives, game over. And then you can choose to restart. In the game, the whole point I'm gonna have it, you have to obviously stay alive as long as you can, and we're going to have a score. So we'll have something called, what is it called? I wrote it here. Uh, so we're gonna have something called a game manager node. And essentially what this is going to be doing inside of Godot is it's going to just manage the game, keep everything in check. It's going to, what's it going to do? It's going to understand the lives, how many lives I've got, know when the ball's gone out of bounds, and then keep track of score as well. So I'm going to start with that. The first thing I'm going to do is try to, oh, and then we've got the score. How are we going to calculate score? So score is going to be time survived. Let's put score on this side. So with score, how are we going to calculate that? We got time, which is time survived. Let's say that goes up by +1 per second, right? Then we got each hit, let's call it strike. So we got strike. Let's say that gives you +100 per strike. And then on strike, what we're going to do is add a multiplier. And that will be like per hit, the multiplier +1. So it starts off at 1. You gain points in your score 1 per second. Each strike is 100 hits. And then multiply it. If you hit it, then that goes to 2. Then another hit will be, let's say, since the multi is now 2 and the base is 100 for a strike, then that turns to 100 times 2. So each hit would turn into 200. I hope that explains it well. That's the basic idea. I could tweak it later, but I'm going to go with that because I need to figure out a game loop, a reason to play the game. Okay, so with that all laid out and planned, and then obviously at the end, once the game manager node detects the lives are gone, the ball's gone out of bounds, lessen the lives, and then once lives is 0, show the game over screen. So that's going to incorporate me implementing UI, this game manager node, trying to configure lives and out of bounds stuff, a bunch of things. Oh, and the score mechanic. The very next step, what I'm going to, so that's a lot to do. I'm not going to do it all in one go because I've never done it before. The very next step, I'm going to figure out how to detect when the ball's out of bounds. I'm going to try to implement some sort of game manager node and have it so that we've got the pivot rotator here with the wedge. Once the ball, we got that line where the pivot rotator is. Once the ball is beyond that line, then detect that that is out of bounds and -1 life. And I'm sure that will feed directly into the game manager node. So that's the next step. I'm going to figure out a way to detect out of bounds for the ball. Right, so I've implemented that. So now I've got a way to detect whether the ball is out of bounds or not. The way I've done that is I've introduced into the main scene an area 2D called ball out zone. So we've got that. Let's show up. Yeah, we've got that. I've attached a script to that and a collision shape 2D node to that as a child. So if something goes within this collision shape 2D, that triggers. I've attached a signal called body entered. If you can see up there, yeah, called body entered. That attached a signal to this script ball out zone, and in the script within the ready method, I've got this piece of this line of code. Body entered plus equals on body entered. So on body entered is, I know it's a mouthful. On body entered is this method here. Let's worry about that later. Body entered is the it's the existing name for the signal. Body entered, but I had to do in C sharp because I think normally it's GD script what they use, and I've had to convert that into C sharp. Body entered signal, essentially a list of methods to notify when it's triggered. So once something goes into the collision shape 2D, body entered the signal triggers, it checks its list of handlers to notify, and that's what I'm doing there. I'm adding on body entered as the method to notify. And yeah, so once something enters, then on body entered gets notified, that triggers, and I print out of bounds with the body, the name of the body that entered it. So hopefully I explained that correctly. I can show you how I've done everything. Let me grab my input overlay. There we go. So at the bottom here, keep an eye out for the output panel. It should show what's happening. So we got that. And there you see it says out of bounds ball. I'm out of the way. It says out of bounds ball. I can respawn it, play the game, and it should out of bounds again. There is a little bug in terms of the naming convention, but I realized that that's from my janky ball respawn debug mechanic that I'm gonna get rid of anyway, so there's no point trying to tweak that. So yeah, I've managed to implement that. Now I have a way to notify myself when the ball has gone out of bounds. So after now, next what we're gonna do. Next, I need a game manager node. So the way that's gonna work, I mean conceptually, the idea is you've got different nodes here. So we've got the paddle node with the paddle script. Conceptually, how it works is anything to do with the paddle belongs to paddle. Wind speed, aim speed, max radius, that belongs to paddle. But what about things like, lives right now? What about things are, I'm gonna have to reset this. There we go. So we got stuff like, I don't know, ball velocity, um, ball size, whatever. Not velocity, ball size, whatever. Anyways, all of this, it all belongs to the ball, right? So my ball sorts out all that stuff. Then we've got stuff like wind speed, paddle, movement, max radius, or whatever. All of that has got to do with the paddle, so that gets dealt by the paddle. So what about things like stuff like lives, game state, score? So they need all of these like higher up stuff, more gamey stuff. I don't know how to explain it. They need a place to live. I can't put it in ball. I can't put it in paddle, else it muddies everything up. So it needs to be put into the game manager. So next up, that's what I'm gonna try to do. I'm gonna try to create a game manager, a node, instantiate it, and try to put inside it the game states and other things that should live there. So I'm gonna try to do that. We'll see how I get along. Right, so what did I do? What did I do? So it doesn't feel like a lot, but it was a lot of reading actually. Is that working? Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of reading and trying to understand the architecture of how everything was going to work. So we've got the game manager node, and it's just a regular node, because if it's a node 2D, that means it takes up space within the game. And a game manager, it doesn't belong anywhere, really. It's just internal architecture. So what do I have? It's not complete. Yeah, it's not complete, but I've got my game manager node. We've got the game state, which is, we've used it before with paddle to figure out the strike state, which is just an enum. We've got the game state, which is, the game is either playing or it's game over, right? And we're instantiating it to playing. We've got our tuning values, starting lives 3, combo, multiply increment 0.5. So that's how much the combo multiplier increments for each strike. And then we've got base points per strike 100. And got our variables or whatever. We've got live, score, combo multiplier, instantiating everything. And we've got 2 methods. So the game logic is here. It's just not wired up to the signals yet. But we've got debug methods to sort of simulate how it's going to work. So if it's game over, return both. You shouldn't be able to land a strike or lose a life if it's game over. For debug lose life, you lose a life. Your combo multiplier goes back to 1. I'm printing everything for debug purposes. And then if this is where you switch the state, if the lives is less than or equal to 0, switch to game over. And for debug land strike, simulating hitting the ball, we have this points variable, which takes the base points per strike, which I've set to 100, multiplying it by the combo multiplier. Then we're adding the points to the score, and then we're incrementing the combo multiplier, and then outputting everything. And then finally in the process, so running every tick is what process does. Every tick check, is the input pressed? So this is just for debug purposes. I've set it so that lose life triggers when I hit the left bumper, and land strike triggers when I hit the right bumper. So if left bumper is clicked, trigger that method. If right bumper is clicked, trigger that method. I don't know how to make this text bigger for the output, but I'm sure you'd be able to see. Let's build and on that. So it's over there, game manager. Oh. Windows Shift T, I think. Oh, there you go. So game manager saying at the start of the game, lives are free, score set to 0, combos 1. Right. So if I click right bumper for a strike, boom, it adds 100. So now the score's 100. Combo multiplier is now times 1.5. So that means the next strike, it should be 100 times 1.5, which is 150. So it should add 150. So the next score should be 250, right? There we go. Now combo multiplies 2, so it's 150 times 2, 300. So it should add 300 to the score. Oh no, sorry, 200 to the score. Okay. Let's double check how that's working. Points equals points base. Oh yeah, so it's just multiplying the base. It's not multiplying the thing. Yeah, so working correctly. I'm just a little bit confused on the maths. So boom, scores now 700. So the more you do your combos, the faster up it racks up. And then if I click left bumper, life lost, lives remaining 2, combo reset to 1. So now if I strike, it should only add 100. So we're at 1750. It should be at 1850. There we go. And then rack it up. Boom, life lost again. Reset. Let's just rack up the score. Life lost again. Game over, final score. Whatever, 18,650. So that's done. Let's play the game quickly. I kind of like how it feels now. It's starting to come together. Now bounce. So that's good. We've got all that set up. Game logic is all done. Well, the base logic is done. I do need to add a couple of things. That's going to be enough for today. To recap what we've done today. Cleaned up the paddle script. Cleaned it up. Made it look nice. We're not done with it yet. There's still some tweaking to do, but for now it looks really good. We've defined a game loop, which we did here. Well, I think I cleared it, but we did define a game loop. How the game's generally going to work, so that it doesn't feel like a toy anymore. It feels more like an actual game, and there's a purpose. We've implemented an area 2D, this area here, to detect if the ball goes out of bounds and successfully trigger it. And we've created a game manager node, and we have set up most of the game logic and the game state. So that's going to be enough for today. It doesn't seem like a lot. It wasn't a lot, but there was a lot of reading and thinking that I had to do to understand what I'm going to do next and how I'm going to implement it. So I feel knackered. Next, for the next devlog, what I'm going to do, the plan is to actually implement these. So take them off of the bumpers and actually trigger them on custom signals so that once the ball goes past the area 2D, trigger a signal and trigger this lose life method, and also wire up a signal for the paddle so that anytime we land a strike, this triggers inside the game manager. That's going to be for next time. Thank you for watching.